Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And Xbox Game Pass just got a little bit better with the ROG Ally handheld PC. They did just host their launch event today where they talked about its specs, its release date, its different models, and all that type of stuff. But one thing that really stood out here is Xbox's involvement. This is something that a lot of fans have dreamt about for years, an official handheld Xbox console. And they are seemingly tied closely to the ROG Ally, and maybe even a little bit more than what you might expect. So we are going to get into that a little bit later on today, and then also we got some news on possibly the Switch Successor. Now fans are freaking out about this, but maybe not necessarily for the reasons that you would hope for. Per usual though, do hit those buttons below, like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more content just like this. But without further ado, let's just go and jump right into it. Starting off with Mortal Kombat 12, or is it really Mortal Kombat 12? Now, the reason I say that is because while technically it might be the 12th mainline entry in a franchise, it is actually starting to sound like it will instead be a reboot of sorts, with it just being called Mortal Kombat. This was first teased by the official Mortal Kombat Twitter account, where they showed a clock ticking down, and it completely skips the number 12, hence why fans now believe that it will be a complete reboot for the franchise. Now, as some fans have pointed out though, if you've played Mortal Kombat 11 and the Aftermath expansion, the way the story unfolded does kind of suggest a reset for the timeline, but there is a little bit more to the story because Bilbil-kun, which as far as I'm aware, has a 100% track record by this point. Well, he leaked out some further information which says, next Mortal Kombat game from NetherRealm Studios, Warner Brothers Games, will be called Mortal Kombat 1. It will be available for PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and also, interestingly enough, the Nintendo Switch. And then it'll go for $70 for that standard PlayStation 5 and Xbox version. The Switch will be $60. And then there's also going to be a premium version that will be $110, whereas the collector's edition, which will probably come included with some nice little extra bonuses, maybe a statue or something like that, will be $250. He then noted that an official announcement should be close. And I mean, with all of those upcoming showcases, Mortal Kombat 1 apparently has a very good chance of showing up at one of those events. Maybe the rumored PlayStation May showcase. We keep hearing about how huge that event will be. There's also the Xbox event coming in next month. And then, of course, we can't forget about the Summer Game Fest either. So if you like Mortal Kombat, those showcases just got even more interesting. Now, to be fair here, they could also just randomly announce it as well. There's no guarantee that it'll be at an upcoming showcase. This could come at any moment by this point. But either way, I keep saying this. The FGC is living the dream right now. I mean, Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, and now Mortal Kombat as well. Whew, that's a lot to look forward to. Speaking of looking forward to something, though, let's go and talk about one of the most hyped up games in recent memory, being Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. This game will finally be out tomorrow. I don't blame anybody at all if they skip work for this game. I mean, I'm not saying that I recommend it. I'm just saying that I understand, that's all. But obviously, the hype is absolutely through the roof by this point. I've even seen a few Zelda fans practically on the moon. They're just floating up there. But will this game meet those lofty expectations? That right now is the big question. Now, I've kind of talked about this before, but I do believe there's a little bit of a danger of overhyping something. There is a threshold where even if a game turns out to be good, if there's so much hype for something, some fans will still end up being disappointed because its expectations are just that high. But the good news here is that in Zelda's case, or at least according to critics, not only did Tears of the Kingdom meet those expectations, but it actually instead surpassed them. You can see here, it currently has a 96 overall score on Metacritic. It also has a 97 on OpenCritic, which is noteworthy because that means that Tears of the Kingdom is officially the highest rated game of all time on OpenCritic, or at least as of this recording. Things could still change, obviously, but I've looked into several reviews by this point, and the big thing that I've heard time and time again is that it improved on Breath of the Wild's formula in every conceivable way. The combat's better, the puzzles are better, it does, importantly, have classic-like dungeons. That was the big one for me. They might not exactly be the same as classic games, but certainly still a lot better than Breath of the Wild. To me, That already makes Tears of the Kingdom better. Then the world, it feels more lived in, and it just sounds like a massive game with all of its verticality. Now, I won't go into further detail just because if you plan on playing it, you might want to discover this stuff yourself. But yeah, this sounds like fans are in store for a very, very fun weekend. I know I personally can't wait for this game. I'm a huge fan of Zelda myself. I mean, it's not every day that I get the chance to definitively say we're about ready to play what might be one of the best games ever made. That's quite the loaded statement, but according to critics, Tears of the Kingdom very well might be. Moving on though, let's go talk about the ROG Ally handheld PC. Valve kind of broke open this market. They've really proven that there's a market for these handheld PC devices. But up to this point, there has been this belief that Valve would be the only company capable of offering an enticing PC handheld at an affordable price. They do have their storefront, which can kind of make money back for any loss that they make on their hardware. This has been a relatively known business tactic for decades. Both Xbox and PlayStation, being console manufacturers, are known to sell their consoles at a loss because where they make most of their money is from software and subscriptions. So when the ROG Ally was first announced, there was a lot of skepticism online. On one side, I mean, this console sounds absolutely fantastic. It's a 1080p machine, it's got a better screen than the Steam Deck, and it's just more powerful. So a lot of people, myself included, was expecting this to be right around that $1,000 mark. Well, I'm happy to definitively tell you all, we were all wrong. Asus did hold their launch event today where they confirmed that they have two different models planned, one being the ROG Ally Z1, which comes in at $599. This is the cheaper, less powerful option of the two, but if you want to get a little bit more power here, you can instead get the ROG Ally Z1 Extreme, which goes for $699. This will get you 8.6 teraflops of power compared to 2.8 in that standard model. And all of this comes in at only $50 more than the high-end Steam Deck, which gives you the same amount of storage, albeit slower. So for $50 extra, you'll get a more powerful machine in the ROG Ally Z1 Extreme than what you would get with the Steam Deck. The Ally is faster, it has a better screen, and most importantly, it runs on Windows 11. That's the big difference between the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck. Now, the reason that this is so important is because that means that the ROG Ally will immediately have access to more games than the Steam Deck right out of the box. The Steam Deck is specifically built to be a Steam machine that runs on Linux. So out of the box, because it is running on Linux, the Steam Deck cannot play Windows-specific games like PC Game Pass titles, which is a huge bummer. Now, to be fair, you can install Windows to achieve this. You can dual boot the Steam Deck, but that's not necessarily a perfect experience either. And that's really what the ROG Ally specializes in. The ROG Ally, while on paper is a Windows 11 PC, Asus also built and refined their Armory Crate software to streamline Windows into a more dedicated handheld console experience. As soon as you boot up the ROG Ally, it will take you straight to your gaming library, which can boot up all your games from various storefronts, including Steam, the Epic Games Store, you have the Ubisoft Store, PC Game Pass, EA Origins, among others. You're just going to have access to more games right out of the box. You'll also be able to modify all of your settings straight from their software. So they're really trying to emulate a handheld console the best they possibly can using Windows 11. And from what I've seen from different reviews, it does appear that they've mostly accomplish this. Yes, there are some reported bugs right now, though that's kind of typical with any kind of new console, new software, or anything like that. Windows does Windows-like things, and it's not perfect. But then again, the Steam Deck also launched with some issues, and so long as Asus is committed to this device for the long haul, it will surely improve over time. That's more of a remain-to-be-seen thing, though. We'll kind of see about that. It, however, does have one major drawback, though, which is its battery life. It actually sounds like it could be even worse than the Steam Deck, which battery life isn't really a strong suit for the Steam Deck either, so that is important to keep in mind here. One of the key aspects to this device, however, clearly is its ability to play PC Game Pass games out of the box. This is one of the most enticing selling points for the ROG Ally. When Asus first announced the ROG Ally, they did use the PC Game Pass logo to advertise it. And on top of that, it also comes included with 3 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. So we already kind of knew that that was one of its main focuses, but over time, it's become even more evident that Xbox has a pretty big involvement here. The head of Xbox hardware was at the launch event today. In fact, you can see the ROG Ally has a very similar button layout as Xbox. That likely is not a coincidence. It has the ABXY buttons, which looks oddly familiar to the Xbox 360 controller. It also sports a very similar D-pad, which is something that I've heard in reviews. From my understanding, it feels similar to the Xbox Series D-pad. More so, a ROG Ally was spotted on Phil Spencer's shelf just here recently, and today, Xbox was even advertising the ROG Ally on both their Twitter account as well as their Xbox Wire website. So they do view the ROG Ally as an Xbox handheld. I think with that in mind, this might actually be as close as you're ever going to get to an official Xbox handheld, and I am all for that. This is so much better than cloud gaming because you'll be able to play your games locally. I have used cloud gaming quite a bit. I've completed games using cloud gaming. It's not perfect. Local is just so much better. And with Xbox and Asus kind of making a partnership here, it does help Xbox as well as Asus, because now every single time somebody buys the ROG Ally, they'll immediately become a PC Game Pass subscriber. And after 3 months, they'll then get the choice in whether or not they want to stay subscribed. I know this much though, I have a Steam Deck, and even I'm quite tempted to buy this console. I haven't completely decided just yet, but yeah, you might be wondering the most important part of this news here. When will the ROG Ally release? There was some previous confusion about this. The launch event was not the day of its release, but pre-orders are live right now on Best Buy, and the Z1 Extreme model will release on June 13th. You can even use a code to get $70 off right now if you have a Best Buy card. I will leave a link to that in the description below. Thank you, Wario. He does a fantastic job as usual, but do go ahead and click that if you are interested. Now, as for the cheaper model, it doesn't have an exact release date as of this moment, but it is planned for Q3 2023. Now, speaking of handhelds, though, something else popped up today that was quite interesting and could possibly be linked to the Nintendo Switch Successor. Now, to be fair here, that's the speculation going around, but it could also be for something else entirely. So just kind of be warned on that. But what's happening here is that Sharp, a company that makes screens for various devices, the CEO in an earnings call confirmed that they're working on a new LCD display for a quote-unquote new console. He then went on to say, I can't comment on any details regarding specific customers, but as to a new gaming console, we've been involved in its R&D stage. Now again, keep in mind, this might not be related to the Switch Successor. PlayStation is also reportedly working on a remote play handheld, so that is an option. And then, just as we talked about a moment ago, there's this whole new market that's kind of taking off here, being PC handhelds. So what's to say that he's not referring to a new PC handheld console? You can't really rule anything out as of this moment. But with that said, one reason that a lot of people are speculating that this could be for the Switch Successor is because Nintendo has a long history of working with Sharp. There was also that Nikkei report that surfaced online just a day or so back that mentioned the Switch Successor is progressing well. So for all of this information to pop up right around the same time as that report, it is a little bit of a coincidence. So there is, yes, this possibility this could be in reference to Nintendo, but that's where fans kind of have mixed emotions. If this is true, this would be a step back from the Switch OLED screen. An OLED is just better than an LCD, which we've seen with the Switch this generation. A good quality screen is just so important for handhelds. So this could be a letdown for some fans that were maybe hoping that Nintendo would stick with an OLED going forward. Now, to be fair here though, there's so little information right now, and that's why I think that it's kind of hard to come up with a definitive analysis for the time being. Quality of LCD screens do vary. That's important to keep in mind here. So just because they might be using an LCD for their next console, that doesn't necessarily automatically mean it's going to be a bad screen. There's also the possibility that Nintendo could offer different models at different price points, which is what they currently do with the Switch. So these are complete unknowns as of this moment, which is why I don't think fans really need to worry about this all too much. For that matter, we don't even really know if this is in regards to the Switch successor or not. I mean, on one side, I could see Nintendo going with an LCD screen to start the generation off with, just because it does help them keep the price down, but I don't know. This new report, it just strikes me as a little bit off. It's more speculative than anything else, but because there's so many people just kind of reporting on this, I thought we would at least kind of go over it today, and then you all can kind of let me know what you all think about this. If Nintendo does theoretically go back to an LCD screen, what will you think about that decision? Let me know in the comments below. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, where I asked you all if Sony brings back Bloodborne with an enhanced version for PlayStation 5 and PC, would you play it? And as you can see here, 29% of you all said yes for the first time, 20% of you all then said yes, you'll replay it, and then 45% of you said no, you're not interested. So that means that 49% of you all, being the majority, would absolutely play an enhanced version of Bloodborne. I do also fall in this group. I have played and completed Bloodborne already, but I absolutely would play this game again with 60 frames per second. I do firmly believe that Bloodborne is one of the best games out there that you can play. So much like a lot of you all, I'm all for this. The good news here, though, as we talked about yesterday, is that there is a rumor that this Bloodborne enhancement is in development. So let's just kind of hope that this is true. I mean, if it's not, though, come on, Sony. Look at how many people want this to happen. So come on. Let's make it happen, Sony. Let's do this. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.